escaped by 5 Memphis police officers. I don't want us burning up our city, tearing up the streets. That's not what my son stood for. And if you guys are here for me and Tyree, then you will protest peacefully. Nichols died 3 days after the January 7th traffic stop, in which police say he was pulled over for reckless driving and misled the scene. Unknown order. Syria's Air Force dropped chlorine gas on the city of Duma in 2018, killing 43 people. An investigation by a global chemical weapons watchdog says there are reasonable grounds to believe it did. The latest confirmation that the regime of Syrian President Bashar Assad used chemical weapons during his country's civil war. Check to see if you have any classified documents. That's what the National Archives is asking former U.S. presidents and vice presidents to do, following the news that President Biden and former Vice President Pence have such documents in their possession. The Dow gained 205 points yesterday. This is AP News. Will you be getting a COVID shot every year, like the flu shot? Scientific advisors for the Food and Drug Administration are helping to decide how and when to update the recipe for COVID-19 vaccination. Whether Americans need once-a-year boosters. At an advisory panel meeting Thursday, the FDA's vaccine chief, Dr. Peter Marks, says vaccinations should be made simpler in order to facilitate the process of optimally vaccinating and protecting the entire population moving forward. Members voted unanimously that people should get the same formula for initial vaccinations or a booster to protect against prevalent strains. Many questions remain, like whether young people would really need yearly boosters and whether people with weak immunity might need 2 doses. Right now, more than 80% of Americans have had at least one COVID-19 shot, but only 16% of those eligible for the FDA's boosters have gotten one. Washington. And I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPG Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPG820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPG 820 weather update.
Here's the latest Chicago weather update. Looking few scattered snow showers here for today with areas of low snow at times. Cloudy sky conditions with a high in the mid-30s. Breezy south winds of 15 to 20 miles per hour, gusting as high as 35. Tonight, mostly cloudy and windy at 19. Saturday, a chance for snow showers, 1 to 2 inches possible to accumulate. Cloudy high of 30 degrees. Sunday, slight chance for snow early, cloudy high of 27. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Fucci. Currently, it's 15.
This is John Daniel, President and Business Manager of the Sheet Metal Workers of Smart Local 265. Workers across Illinois shared a victory last November when the Workers' Rights Amendment passed. There are some who believe that this was for the sole benefit of unions. Although unions brought it to the table, we did it for the benefit of all workers across our state. If you work at a coffee shop, a sheet metal shop, or a corporate office, all workers deserve a safe and respectful workplace, a fair living wage to raise their families, affordable and expansive health insurance to protect their families, and a dignified retirement at the end of their working career. Unions fight every day for those basic rights. This amendment blocks anti-worker legislation that continues to negatively impact families across many other states, including lowering wages and unsafe working conditions. There was a lot of buzz when this amendment was up for a vote, but I believe the real buzz should be now. Let's celebrate a win for the working class. Learn more about us at Smart265.org.
This big job with Slim Guttner. Here we are again. Chesapeake, Virginia, former central lost line shooting after Colorado Springs, where they should stay at. I would like to remind people, we have zero proof, zero, that gun laws work. You know, if you don't include Japan, the United Kingdom, Belgium, Canada, Iceland, Romania, Norway, Austria, Argentina, Netherlands, South Korea, Italy, Greece, Chile, France, Spain, Sweden, Singapore, Portugal, Israel, Czechia, Denmark, Taiwan, Switzerland, Poland, Germany, Luxembourg, Malta, Australia, Estonia, Croatia, New Zealand, Ireland, Slovakia, Latvia, Slovenia, San Marino, Andorra, Monaco, Lithuania. Hear more from Cliff at heartlandcleanup.com and Rod Lipsky page. John Hartman.
What it was to have gas prices in the 3 months leading up to the election. This is, in my mind, proof positive that the CEOs of the fossil fuel industry, who hate Democrats and hate Biden, wanted to bring down the Democratic Party and to reject the price of gasoline. And, I'm expecting this to be the same thing in 2 years in 2024.
The Tom Hartman radio program, weekdays 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on WCPT 820, where facts matter. WCPT 820.
Okay, how much time do I have, Paul?
Where facts matter. It's the WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute. Speaking on the Senate floor,
Hello, Paul.
23rd, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer urged House Republicans to get specific about the cuts in federal spending they are demanding.
Hey, everybody.
To raise the statutory debt ceiling.
House Republicans, put your proposals for debt ceiling on the floor. Let the entirety of the House debate it and vote on it. And let the American people see and assess these cuts for themselves. Americans deserve to know what kind of cuts Republicans want to make, why they think it is worth forcing an unnecessary crisis that will hurt most American families.
Schumer said that Democrats are prepared to move quickly and well in advance of the fall to raise the country's borrowing authority in order to pay for spending that has already been enacted into law. WCPT 820 and Heartland Business. I'm Andy Martin.
What is dedication? My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a problem. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't possible. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are out truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That is dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council. This is the WCPT 820 Heartland Signal News Minute.
What we're simply saying is that there are weapons of mass destruction, of war, that do not belong on our streets.
That's New Jersey Senator Cory Booker speaking on MSNBC following the recent spate of mass shootings in the United States. By January 24th, the number of such incidents in 2023 had climbed to 39. In 2022, that number surpassed 600.
There are groups in America that are amassing in terms of their political power, understanding that we are not helpless in this. Groups like Moms Demand Action are now showing greater numbers than the NRA. So this is the realm of politics. And for those folks who are frustrated, get more frustrated. But let that frustration motivate you to get more engaged and more involved.
WCPT 820 in Heartland Business. I'm Andy Martin.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter. This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is a joy to be with you today. Call me at 773-763-9278. It was so wonderful seeing so many of you. You packed out the house at the Morning Star Auditorium yesterday. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Our mayoral forum with all of the announced and balloted candidates was a roaring success thanks to you. And I'm so glad that you got there and you were able to get something to eat. Fania and mi hermano and oh my goodness, so many of you. It was such a joy. Stanley, so many of you. It was wonderful seeing you there yesterday. We're going to be having more events and we want you to be there. I want you to know, I want you to tell me, call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. Let us know what you thought of the forum. Let us know who might have swayed you, who might have gotten your vote, or who changed your mind. What did you think of all of the candidates, of Mayor Lightfoot, Congressman Congressman Garcia, Mr. Vallis, Dr. Wilson, Commissioner Johnson, State Representative Buckner, Jamal Green, Alderman Rod Sawyer, Alderman Sophia King. It was quite the lineup that we had. Ideas, a little bit of back and forth, but it was just which is to be expected. But it was a really, really wonderful, wonderful event. I certainly had a good time, and I have to tip my hat to my incredible colleagues, Joan Esposito and Patty Vasquez, brilliant moderators. Joan held it down, and Patty and I co-moderated, and it was quite the day, quite the day. Of course, we are sending much love to this wonderful team here at WCPT. I mean, led by Mark Pinsky and Matt Cummings and Antonio Correa. We love you all, Steve Lessman and Mark. Mike Mercado. It was great to meet him. He's always saving us. We just love him so much. Devin Andrakis, Mike, all my wingmen and women. Tim Hogan, it was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Tim, you did a fantastic job just pulling these questions together and taking our input when we had questions or when we had suggestions. It was quite a day. And there were so many other support staff, and everybody, I have to tell all of my colleagues at WCPT, loved all of the staff. You were so warm and so welcoming. It's just a wonderful station, wonderful. And so thank you, Katie Dans, and of course, Mr. Fred Eichner, who owns the station, for really putting so much effort and energy into this. It was a first-class operation from start to finish. And I want to hear from you. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. I want you to let me know what you thought of the debate, of the forum, because it was actually a forum. And then I want you to tell me who's got your vote or who has your attention. I mean, a lot can change between now and February 28th. Remember, Lori Lightfoot was not number 1 month away from her election or from the runoffs last year, from the primaries last year. She was from the election last year. And then, of course, that went to a runoff. She just impressed everybody. So did that happen this year? You tell me what you thought of yesterday. And everyone, we're going to do a post-mortem of that with Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push and Kevin Lampe, brilliant political strategist and analyst, and runs campaigns indeed all over the world, he and his wife, Kitty Kurth. So let us get to it. Today, we're going to be talking about the Tyre Nichols case out of Memphis. We're going to have some people from Memphis talking to us about this. And we'll also be doing this on Keep Up Alive on Sunday. Everyone is waiting to see what is on this video. How is it all of these traffic stops turn into murder and mayhem for Black people? That is, they get murdered and there is mayhem. How is that? How is that? You do understand why we run away from the police. Everyone says comply. Well, when you comply, you die. So let's talk about that today at the top of the next hour. But at the bottom of this hour, let's talk about this mayoral race. Early voting started yesterday. Please get out and vote. Indeed, Kevin Lampe is going to talk to us about the voting season. The voting season, not voting day. The voting season has begun. So I want you to please get out there and vote, and let's make America what it's supposed to be. It can only do that. We can only be that with your participation. Everybody in Chicago ran of a high of 36 degrees, snow showers. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 33 degrees. There will be snow. In the NFL, we've got the championship games this weekend. Who's going to sit atop the NFC and the AFC? Who's going to the Super Bowl? Well, it's down to 4 teams, the Eagles, the 49ers, Kansas City, and the Bengals. We will see. By Monday, we'll know, all right, who'll be at the Super Bowl on February 12th. In the NBA, the Grizzlies will be facing off against the Timberwolves and the Hornets, everybody, 111 and the Bulls 96. The NHL, the Wild 3, the Flyers 2, and Chicago bested the Flames 5-1. Call me, everybody, at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are regarding this mayoral debate. It was a forum, and it was quite the forum, and I want to know what your thoughts are. In the meantime, let's get to some more of these headlines. After 5 Memphis police officers were charged on Thursday in the death of Tyree Nichols following a traffic stop on January 7th, authorities say video footage of the fatal police encounter will be released to the public later today, amid concerns that the violent video will spark national outrage. Officials have called for calm. And indeed, the governor of Georgia has alerted the National Guard because apparently the footage is just that that violent, that damning. And for any demonstrations, his parents are calling for them to be conducted in a civil manner. Just so that you know, generally when these demonstrations are disrupted, it's by agent provocateurs. This is not something that civil rights people do. So, it's generally the police who do that. People they hire, things like that. Yep, those are in my headlines too. Nichols' attorney, Ben Crump, described the arrest as a brutal, prolonged attack that, quote, will remind you of Rodney King in many regards. And of course, those of us who are old enough to remember what happened in 1991 to him. 29 years of age, Mr. Nichols. He was hospitalized and died 3 days later from his injuries. Only about 15% of the American population has gotten their updated COVID-19 booster shots, signaling low vaccine uptake across the country. To help increase that number, a panel of independent experts that advises the FDA voted on Thursday to harmonize COVID-19 vaccines to improve and simplify the process. Currently, the U.S. offers 2 types of COVID-19 vaccines, the primary series and the boosters. The first shots people get, the primary series, teach the immune system to fight off the original version of the virus, which emerged in 2019. Then, due to a parade of new variants, the FDA last year updated the vaccines and introduced 2-strain or bivalent shots that can fight off Omicron's newer BA4 and BA5 subvariants. But the efficacy, there are questions about that. The World Health Organization sets the bar at 50%. These are 48% effective, but scientists are working on it, everybody. The National Archives is formally asking former presidents and vice presidents to recheck their personal records for any classified documents or presidential records. This comes in the wake of classified documents discovered in the homes of former President Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, and President Joe Biden, and then Senator Joe Biden. He's had many documents for many, many years. According to a new CNN poll, the news about the discovery of the documents has had little impact thus far on baseline views of President Biden. However, his approval rating in the new survey stands at 45% approval to 55% approval. To be sure, his numbers have been climbing. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. I want to know what your thoughts are, everybody, about this race. Do you believe, as the mayor is saying, her polls say that she's sitting on top of the polls? Corporate news media, they're saying, well, no, it's really between Paul Vallas and Chuy Garcia, and everyone's giving now Paul Vallas the edge. So who do you think really has the edge here? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Reverend Tisha Williams will not be with us today to give us the good news. And I called a couple of people last night and they couldn't do it. And I said, well, I guess God is putting it in my lap and on my heart to deliver a word to you today. And so briefly, let me give this to you. The Bible tells you to give me a clean heart so that I might serve thee. You know that song? Yeah, it's a really, really wonderful psalm. And it really just says, create in me a clean heart, oh God, and renew the right spirit in me. I remember when I went away to college, your parents give you all of these talks, right? They tell you, before you go, I want to give you this. And before you go, I want to give you that. Give me this little bit of advice, dating advice about life. And, my parents said to me, we've done all that we can for you. And all we can do now is pray for you. And my father's just one more thing. He gave me dating advice. But just before we headed out the door to Washington, D.C., to Howard University, he said, you know, Daddy wants you to do one thing for me. I said, what is that? He said, just one thing, just one thing. He said, I want you to find a church. I said, wow, that's it? Nothing about studying or anything else? He said, no, you've demonstrated to your mother and I that you're going to take care of that. I'm not worried about that. But what concerns me and what I'd never be able to live with as your father is if you were unmoored spiritually. If you didn't have the right relationship, the best relationship, a strong relationship with God. And one of the things that he always admonishes me to do is to have a clean heart. Clean out your heart. Don't function with bad intentions. Even when bad things happen to you or things that are painful. As his grandmother, my great-grandmother used to say to me, as long as these troubling things that happen to you don't happen in you, you're going to be all right, baby. Think about that. Diamonds are made under pressure. And your best qualities are brought out by your trials, not your triumphs. Your triumph is the exhale. The inhale and pushing up the hill, that's your trial. And you need to have a clean heart. Because when you come to your trial, you should not come out looking for vengeance. You should come out looking for understanding and being a bigger, better person. Bigger, better people are never looking for vengeance. They're looking for the victory. And the victory comes as you become the better person, as you become the bigger person, as you have the clean heart. Remember, if not for your trials, you would not have triumphs. You wouldn't appreciate them. You wouldn't even understand them. Intention guides everything that we do. So God does tell us to create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew the right spirit in me. And whether you have a religious commitment or not, that is the best of advice. Remember what happens to us, the primary driver of illness and death in America for women and for Americans just generally speaking. One of the primary drivers is heart disease. Clean out your heart, everybody. Think about that. Think about becoming the best person you can be. Think about thanking God for every trial, for every mountain that you have to climb. As Andre Crouch wrote, if I didn't have a problem, I'd never know God could solve them. I'd never know what faith in God could do. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. And whether you are Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, atheist, animist, agnostic, whatever it is, just try to be the best person you can be. Work on that, everybody. And that, to me, is the good news, because we all have it in us. Indeed, Jesus could not ascend to heaven until Jesus had forgiven everyone for making him endure all of that pain. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And then it was finished. Think about that, everybody. I love you so much. Let's get this show started. Let me go to Andre from the South Side. Andre, how you doing, my sweet? It's wonderful to hear your voice. I hope that you're having a great day already. What's on your mind, Andre?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning to you, Miss Santita, and Happy New Year to you and your family.
Oh, Happy New Year to you and yours. Is this my god brother, Andre? But that's okay. That's all right. But Andre, I want you to, are you on speaker right now?
No, I'm not. I'm actually on my business phone.
Okay, are you on your headphones?
No, I'm not. Are you hearing some type of feedback? Because you sound fine on my end.
Okay, not feedback. It was just sounding a little, it wasn't sounding as clear. Because I want everyone to hear you.
Let me see if I can make some sense.
That's much better. That's much better. Okay. So now you said you wanted to talk about the mayor's race?
Yes, I do. You asked the question, Santita, who do we think have the edge in the race? Well, my opinion, I think it's the people that's got the edge in the race, not the candidates. It's up to us to get out there and vote I tell you, I'm a little bit disappointed with what I'm seeing here in Santita because I listen to those candidates and none of them are talking about bringing in outside resources to help fight with the crime situation. We forgot how we got here. We got here because of Anita Alvarez and John Burst and how the people have been mistreated in Chicago by the police department. But they all are talking about bringing in more police, and I feel like oftentimes more police is not the answer. More police is the problem. But we do need some outside resources, maybe ATF, National Guard. Bring somebody in to help with this crime situation because Chicago is losing its stature anytime you got people going down on the Gold Coast in broad daylight, smashing windows, going to store to the jury and stuff. People don't want to come here, even for tourism. So crime is an issue with me, and so far none of the candidates has addressed the crime issue from my perspective. We need more than just the bad police. We need to add solutions to that, and none of them said that. So again, Santita, I just want to say we got the ears, the people got the ears. It's just up to us whether we use it or not.
Well, let me ask you this. What responsibility do we have as citizens to deal with crime? Do we have any responsibility?
Yes, we do have a responsibility to do with the crime issue, and that is to raise and educate our kids. And you often quote scripture, so I'm going to quote one. Train up the child in the way they should go, and they won't depart from it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people make excuses and say, well, you know what's wrong with our kids? They took her out of school. Well, I tell them this here. They may have took her out of school, but they never took her out their home. And my parents taught me at home. Right? They never did depend on the school to teach me morals and values and rights from home. So we do have choices, so we have to educate these kids. You don't require a whole lot of money. You don't have to make 10 figures to educate your children right way. Sometimes some of our best people come from poverty. Mm-hmm. So don't use the excuse that you don't have the money to train your children up in the right way they should behave. That's not true. You can do that. So yeah, we do have responsibility in this crime situation. So too.
Absolutely, and you shouldn't use wealth either, because wealthy people commit crimes too, and more often than not, theirs are covered up. You know, I think that we have to look at why it is that we are behaving as we are. A lot of people, you know, when you're talking about petty theft and things like that, and people who are stealing food and goods, you know, we have such an unequal society. And, you know, Dr. King used to say that riots are the language of the unheard. And I think we're going to have to look at just, you know, human beings' inclination toward violence. You know, Cain slew Abel. We've got to look inside of our own hearts, because you can't bring the police into your house with you. But Andre, I want to thank you for listening. But is there, in just really quickly, I got about 30 seconds here. Is there any candidate who's kind of, you don't have to tell me, but I'm just curious, is there any candidate who does it for you? Or are you still waiting to find out something?
Well, I'll do it to you like this. I think that, like you said, you got your instinct. You know, I was born with this. I would say, stick with the devil you know. And so, maybe I don't mean to be fatigued, but the devil you know like this. So since she's the incumbent, and she got some things on the table like the NASCAR. She's got some with the casino going on. She's like in some stuff in different areas. I don't like the fact that these people seeking asylum come here and they don't open their school for them. I don't like that aspect of it. Okay. But I just suggest, you know what, let's just stick with the devil we know, not because we don't know the devil we know here.
Well, let's stick with the angel we know. Let's make people angels. Let's not make them devils. I love you, Andre. Sending you much love. Everybody, when you call in, make sure you're off your speaker and make sure your radios are down in the background. Thank you, Andre, for calling in. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. Who you got in the race? Or have you not made up your mind? Let's talk on the Santita Jackson Show. Okay, Paul. Okay, just make sure you give me a minute, 30 seconds that we're coming in, okay? Okay, thanks so much. Yeah, everybody, I want to know what your thoughts are with respect to this race. What do you think is going to happen with this mayoral race. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, uh, it's a big deal. I mean, city contracts. I mean, entrepreneurial opportunities. You know, what's going to happen with our schools? Are we going to close more schools or open schools? Are we going to hire more teachers or fire more teachers? I mean, what are we planning to do here? What are your budgetary priorities? Do we need more police? You know, you want the police to have your back. You just don't want them on your back. And what responsibilities do we have in all of this, in this mayhem and upheaval that we see all around us? What? I want to know what your thoughts are on all of that, because I think it's reflective of some deeper issues that we've got here. I think. So everybody, I want you to reach out to me at 773. Let me put the number in here. 773 763 9278.
Mr. Larkin's on the line.
Okay, thank you. And let me have him on. Mr. Lampy.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kitty's husband. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Oh boy, oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, you know, I'm going to call you after the show, because I had some interesting conversations, even though I was bone tired last night. I had some interesting conversations about people and their prognostications, and so I would love to share. But I think what's interesting is that a lot of people do believe that Paul Vallis is the front runner.
Yes.
You know, because you have a divided black vote, and when you have a divided black vote, you don't have a chance.
Reverend Wilson is on the line.
So it's a whole lot. And of course, you've got your friend, Reverend Jeanette Wilson.
Yes.
Reverend Wilson, I've got Kevin Lampy here.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
Oh,
Wonderful. And you?
I'm great.
she completely changed her tune when she found out it was you. She was like, "Hi, how you doing?" Then oh, Kevin. Oh, hey, sounded like a schoolgirl. Okay, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I don't know. You funny. Your voice is the one that gave it away. I mean, my goodness. I see. I see.
I left you off for a minute.
Okay. I see.
Yesterday was interesting.
Okay. Well, I cannot wait for you all to share with the audience what your thoughts were. Crime appears to be on everyone's mind. And
What does?
crime.
Oh yeah, that was something they weren't able to talk about.
Mm-hmm. But you know, you can't bring the police in your house, right?
No, and you can't just focus on policing. That is just not going to. It's not sustainable. It won't stop the crime in 15 seconds.
It's not. No, I don't think it will. But then that's just me. Do we have Chaparral up?
No answer from her yet.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. And I will have a live Hochberg read at 7. Thank you.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. Once again, let me thank everyone for their tremendous support of the Mayoral Forum from WCPT. First time we've done something like this, and it was a roaring success. Packed out the Morningstar Auditorium, even needed an overflow room. So many of you responded to this, and this is really a great thing. I want to know what your thoughts are. What did you think of Mayor Lightfoot, Congressman Garcia, Mr. Vallis, the former CEO of the Chicago Public Schools, among other positions that he has held, Brandon Johnson, Commissioner Brandon Johnson, Dr. Willie Wilson, Alderman Sophia King, Alderman Roderick Sawyer, State Representative Cam Buckner, Jamal Green. What did you think? Did anyone impress you? Did anyone move the needle for you? Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Two of the persons who were there yesterday, literally on the front row, and then Kevin, of course, got called away to help put out a fire at another campaign, so he ended up kind of getting in the back there. But I think I have the feeling that Kevin Lampy likes to get in the middle of the crowd to kind of judge and gauge where people are. So I love it. Kevin Lampy, who's been talking to us about this election, can't wait to bring him on future shows to talk about other elections and what he sees politically, not just in this country, but around the world. And of course, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire from Rainbow Push. Let me start with you, Kevin. You said we are in a voting season. Can you explain that?
Yeah, that's one of the things that people have to understand. Voting is started. I think voting is starting right now, and so it's not just one day of the election anymore. And it is important that the campaigns realize it. That your outreach to people, to a certain percentage that votes tomorrow, but then you're done with the outreach to them. But people need to get out and participate, and we've got a system in Chicago that is very good at opening up places for people to go and vote. And so it is important to take advantage and be, get out there as the season is now to vote and to make a difference.
What did you think of yesterday?
It was fascinating yesterday. It was and I must say, compliments to the WCPT team. I have worked, prepped and participated with clients in debates, from the localist level to number of American presidential that I even worked on prepping people for political debates in Albania at one point. And it was a terrific production. People had an opportunity to talk. I think it was a lively exchange, and it wasn't just it wasn't boring. That's one of the problems with the debate, where it gets to one question, they go down the row, and everybody just keeps saying the same thing. What was really good for voters is they saw people being tested and being pushed, and I think people had an opportunity to see the candidate that the best of their voice yesterday.
What were your thoughts? What was your impression of what you saw yesterday, Reverend Wilson?
Well, I thought it was very well organized. I think dividing the candidates into two groups was interesting. It's almost like this is the power group and this is the next group. And the first group, there was a lot more energy and fire among them. They had differences about approaches and solutions to the problems they perceived. Most of them stayed focused on safety and violence, and they didn't seem to have plans to address any of the other concerns. It was interesting how the mayor defined and created an opportunity to respond to people. The rule said if they call your name in a particular answer, then you get to have a 30-second rebuttal. And so her thing was, they defined me. They called my position, therefore I can rebut. And so it had a nice, creative, but respectful tension. The second group, they seemed to be more aligned in what they believed in and their approaches to things. It was just that we're all against the mayor. And so they were much friendlier to each other. I think that Dallas and Wilson were clearly singled out as being supported by the FOP, both of them. And I don't think Wilson had any other focus other than safety. I think Brandon and he kind of stood out a lot more than he has in the past. He at least seemed to talk a little bit about his work as a county commissioner, and clearly he's very articulate, and he tied everything to education. The mayor was able to put forth some of the things that she has been doing while mayor, and did a little bit about her challenges coming in as mayor, and I thought that was good. I didn't think Chewy rose to the occasion. He did talk about being an immigrant and that kind of thing. And I think people are more concerned about where you are now. I mean, your family background is great, but the issue is what are you going to do about the issues we have now? And I didn't hear that as much as I thought we would yesterday.
Well, I want everyone to call me. Call me at 773-763-9278. Call us at 773-763-9278. What did you think? I thought, Kevin, it was striking. Many of us don't know the personal narratives, the personal biographies of the people who are running. Many people don't know that Paul Vallis lost a son to drug addiction. May peace be upon him. Many people don't know that maybe the one-string guitar that Dr. Wilson plays on crime is because his son was murdered. I heard some people kind of gasp. Dr. Reverend Wilson. I heard some people kind of go, ooh. Either I didn't know that his son had been murdered and the murderer has never been found, or I'd forgotten about that. Your response, Reverend Wilson, and then yours, Kevin Lampe.
Well, I think that it was unfortunate. Both of them lost sons, and that Willie Wilson tried to explain that's why they have a somewhat of a bond, the two of them, and he also explained why his focus is on the police being more empowered to address this kind of crime. And I feel that. I really do. When I was at CPS, I did 33 consecutive funerals of children. And I've watched parents, and the pain never goes away. It is like an enduring pain that's unimaginable to bury your child. That's not the way, this is supposed to work. So I get it. That does not, however, give him the position of the executive of the city of Chicago, whose job it is to address multiple things: investments in communities, improving schools, and addressing health inequities, and all of it, and then just running the city itself. The operations of the government are held in the executive branch. And so I didn't get a clear understanding from most of them about the job that they're running for. What does it take to do that job, and what will they do to improve in areas where there's been a significant lack of energy or focus, or we haven't addressed crime. We all know that. So what's the plan? I know your son was murdered. Your son died because of easy access to drugs. Somebody murdered your son because of the availability of weapons. Having said that, what are you going to do specifically if elected? Similarly, these schools that were closed, some during Paul's administration, he tried to talk about he's a fixer of education. And, when he took the school system in Chicago, it was labeled as the worst school district in America. Well, he made some improvements in the area, but he has to credit Blondine Davis, Dr. Blondine Davis and Dr. Cosette Buckley. They were veteran educators who helped to turn the system around. So I think that I really didn't see people, especially in the second town, have a real clear understanding of what the job requires what would you change in the job? The two aldermen that are running, Sophia King and Roderick Sawyer, they talked about more of, well, the disenchantment they had with this mayor because she was not inclusive of the aldermen. She has not been inclusive, and that started with day one. And so I think it's more, they feel some kind of way about her approach. And the one thing, the second we talked about was they will be more collaborative. And I think that's great and that's good. But collaborative doing what? That's going to change the conditions that impact people each and every day. And I think that, two aldermen and a state representative, those are legislative bodies. And so my question is, what have you done as a legislator? What legislation have you introduced? What ordinances have you proffered and were able to get passed in the city that has changed conditions, have made it a more diverse group of suppliers to city agencies and programs? How have you impacted investments in the wards that you represent? And so that's what I was expecting to hear. We didn't get into that. I thought your questions were very good. They were different than some of the things we've heard. But I think whatever the next forums are, people need to understand the branches of government, what their roles are, and how then do you plan to fit into the role of the executive branch moving from a legislative branch. Brandon's in the legislative at the county. He's a commissioner. He started talking a little bit about two things he introduced, Commissioner Johnson. But that's what I'm looking to hear, because if you had civics ever, you have to know the difference between the branches of the government that you are seeking to work for, and what roles and powers and authority does the mayor have versus the city council.
And the governor and absolutely.
How do they impact you?
Absolutely, and the people you have to work with. But let me ask you this, because now first of all, you got to get the seat, Kevin Lampe, and you help number one, you manage campaigns, you turn campaigns around, you advise candidates, and you tell them what they're doing well, what they're doing not so well, how they can get better, how they can win. Who do you think, who would be the top tier candidates and why? I mean, is it something that people are doing? Is it something that they're campaigning to do? Just talk to us.
Yeah, it definitely is very interesting. The first panel, that's the top tier of the race. And then the second tier was in the second group. And in the first tier, the person who did themselves the most good was Brandon Johnson. He seemed to rise above the fray, and he was one that he kept talking about, I've created a budget and nobody else has. I understand these issues, and he did himself a lot of good. He demonstrated at a time where a lot of people, all we know is their TV commercials, what we read about them in the news media, but he was able to demonstrate that he is actually ready to become the mayor. And this is a job interview that's going on. And Brandon, if you looked at the performance of the first panel, and you're going to hire somebody to do the job of mayor, Brandon rose to the top. And clearly, it was, because with the others on the panel, they were just sniping at each other and bickering back and forth. Brandon said he had this extra thing going on. I was very impressed with him, and this was the first time where I looked at him and okay, he could actually do the job of mayor.
So then let me ask you this. So you're saying that Brandon inspired confidence. Is that what you're saying? Is that the part of the job of a candidate?
That absolutely. there is, so many of these issues, there's not a lot of daylight between everybody. You know, they recognize the problem of crime. In fact, it was, even in the overflow room yesterday was a little bit, I felt a little bit better because it was a little more raucous. More people were talking to each other and talking back to the screen in the overflow room that was happening in the main room. But there was a point where people in the room would, every time a question would go to Willie Wilson, they would say, he's going to talk about crime. You know, it didn't matter what the question was, he's going to talk about crime. But that is the key. You have to be able to, as Brandon did, demonstrate you can actually do the job. It is a terrible job. One of the toughest, I think, the mayor of Chicago needs to be tougher than the president of the United States. And that is the key. And that's what he was able to do yesterday by, you know, to say, okay, he talked about a budget he put together. And that was a very powerful message because the others, you know, yes, Mayor Lightfoot has passed the budget, but that Brandon, who people didn't know they had the ability to, he passed the budget as county commissioner, but that he has actually looked at the details. I have counseled other mayoral candidates in the state that if you want to win this race, understand where the money is going and how it needs to be allocated. And he actually went out and said, okay, I've got a plan, I want people to look at it. Where the other candidates, you know, then that reduced what they were able to say, they were just arguing, going back and forth. And I've got to say that the mayor struggles. And sometimes her attacks, they have to be the same attack and the same message. Yes, we're always counseling candidates, you got to keep the message consistent. But you can't keep the message consistent if you sacrifice the fact that you need to make sure that you're actually in the moment and you're not just giving out talking points.
Well, I mean, what about Paul Vallis? I get the sense, Kevin Lampe and Reverend Wilson, I want you to respond as well. But first you, Kevin, I just get the sense that he is the sleeper candidate. I mean, we have the black voters chopped up to bits. I would think that you would have progressives and a fair amount of progressives behind Chewy, but Brandon's been a sleeper too because Commissioner Johnson has come up. He has come up and seemingly out of nowhere because it was. But what about Paul Vallis? Because it seems to me that Kevin Lampe, he's kind of a standalone. I mean, because people support him, but they dare not say it, Kevin.
I definitely agree. When every time that I see Paul Vallis in situations, I gotta tell you, all it goes back to I'm thinking about this is the Goliath, 29. This is, he is divisive. He's definitely. I am the white ethnic candidate, and I'm going to be tough on crime. And by the way he talks about crime, he talks about it as an us versus them situation. I'm going to protect us. I'm going to do this. And I find his campaign rhetoric incredibly polarizing, which then leads to if he wins, we're just going to have council wars again, as we had heard in the days of Mayor Harold Washington.
Well, Jeanette Wilson, Reverend Wilson, what are your thoughts?
Could you repeat the question?
Well, my question is, what about your thoughts about Paul Vallis and the consolidation of the white vote behind him? And then we also, kind of changing the question up a bit, you have Mayor Lightfoot, who's come out with her own polls. And she said, my polling shows me number one. And Garcia falling behind, and Vallis is just behind me. I mean, what do you think is going on out here?
Well, I think there's a bit of confusion because I never really count on these polls because oftentimes they don't poll a cross section of people. They poll people that you know, like, and trust, or feel that are your base. Clearly, Vallis has the white ethnics, period. for the most part. And then I think Chewy is counting on the a solid Latino vote and some quote-unquote progressives. And I'm not sure if that progressive coalition exists as it did when late Mayor Harold Washington was running the first or the second time. We don't seem to have a strong coalition of people that work together for the betterment of government in this city or even in this nation. People are now on islands of around particular issues. Brandon Johnson has a strong, I would assume, strong teacher base, and labor perhaps supports him. I don't know about these polls, and I'm not sure in terms of the mayor's base. It's a demographic that maybe the baby boomer crowd, the over 50 crowd that pretty much look at stability in government. They want to see stability in education. Obviously, everybody wants safety. And so I think that the African Americans in the race are drawing from the same base. Jamal Green is trying to pull a younger demographic. They're just not high voting, and nor are they polled for the most part. And so everybody's polling their base. They're not polling a cross-section of people to really see where the masses of Chicagoans are. They're going to poll their target. And so I think the mayor's biggest challenge is people don't know what she has done, and they're not clear on what she's fighting for. You know, they know she's fighting, and you know, the biggest complaint that seems to be permeate every forum is the lack of collaboration. And I think some of that is, we all know we were in a pandemic, and you didn't collaborate in that pandemic. It's a different space, and we're in a different period post-pandemic that's not even over. So it's a different season, and it's a difficult season. You don't have the kind of energy out here about anybody in particular. No one is like, you know what I'm saying? It's not.
No, you can feel it. I mean, I've got about 30 seconds.
We were like, we were excited. You know, the people were excited. You know, there's no energy out here now like this, like it used to be.
I think people, you know, as I go to the break, because we're going to be talking about Tyre Nichols at the top of the hour, you know, I think people are exhausted. And coming through a pandemic that we're still in, people are exhausted and people need answers. You're going to be staying with me to talk about Tyre Nichols along with this panel, but I want to give the last 30 seconds to you, Kevin Lampe. What should we be looking for?
We need to look for the candidates continually to try to point out the differences between them and their approach. I think the voters, they need to do the research and they need to get out and vote first off. If voting is going on, and we need to show up and participate in this process because their vote matters. But also that there's clear distinctions on styles. We saw how they would handle the mayor's job and the way they handled the debate yesterday.
Okay.
Mayor elected was combative. Paul Vallis seemed to, I know everything and I've been perfect at every job when they've asked me to come in. I've been the savior. Brandon Johnson stood out because he was able to prove that actually he has the gravitas and the ability to be the leader. Chewy was the congressman. He didn't sell enough of what he's actually been able to do.
Sure.
Often just trying to attack the mayor, and that just wasn't working.
Everybody pay attention. Let's talk about Tyre Nichols on the Santita Jackson Show. What happened at this traffic stop and why was he dead 3 days later? Back in just a minute. Thank you so much, Kevin. Kevin, I'm pulling you right now for Sunday.
Okay.
Gotta pull you for that.
Let me check. Let me check my schedule.
Well, let me know. Just let me know.
Washington.
Oh, okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know what's going on. Thank you so much. Thank you. I know Kevin is like.
Always a pleasure, Reverend Wilson.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Getting up. Okay.
On your trip.
You know what? When I come back on the other side, Fania, Dee, Linda, and Pam, I'm coming right to you at the top of the show. Okay? I'm coming right to you. So, okay, Fania, Dee, Linda, Pam, I'm coming right to you. Coming right to you.
Mr. Kyles is on the line.
Okay, Mr. Kyles, Joseph Kyles.
Good morning, Santita.
Where would Memphis be without a Kyles?
Gotta have a Kyles.
Gotta have a Kyles in Memphis. Yeah.
Joseph is one of the best Kyles.
Absolutely. Well, I love them all. You know, my mother wouldn't let us go to anybody's house. You know, you couldn't spend, and you certainly couldn't spend the night at anyone's house. My mother just did not do that.
Oh no, we couldn't do that.
But the only one of the few places that we could stay throughout our growing up years was at Reverend and Mrs. Kyle's home with Mrs. Gwen Kyles. My mother didn't even think about it. When we went to Memphis, we had hotel rooms. Honey, we'd pack up and leave those hotel rooms and go over to the Kyle's house. And we would stay there for a week.
I love Reverend Kyles. He was a funny house on the line.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love Reverend Billy Kyles. I miss Mrs. Gwen Kyles. Boy, some of the most fun times in my life. Trishina, Dwana, Dwayne, and Devin. Boy, oh boy, I used to love going down to Memphis and Larry Shaw, who worked with my parents early on. He moved down there to work to be the vice president of Stax, and of course, Al Bell and Stax and. Joe Bridges, and our people, the first. Oh yeah, the first satellite office really was in Memphis. We used to go there every year faithfully. Oh boy, some of the best times.
I go to Memphis. I could see the Geese Parade at the Tea.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah,
well,
I'm talking about the ducks walking across the lobby.
Yeah.
Yes, that was. That ain't why you went to Memphis. You want me to talk about Bill Street?
Yes. Yes, Reverend. Yes, Reverend. Tell the truth.
I had to go to the highways and byways to rescue the souls.
Look.
That's right. That was still are.
Yeah. Well, one night my brothers took me to one of these crazy clubs. It was called Club No Name. That was like on the edge of a field. This was the craziest. It was, yeah. And it was deservedly called No Name. I was like, where do you have me? I'm in my Laura Ashley dress. My girlfriend, my classmate from Howard, Lisa. Oh, club. We were like, we looked in there, and Lisa she's an engineer now, bless her heart. One of my classmates from Howard. Lisa is like 4'11". Beautiful, beautiful. And this man who was about 6'11" walked over to her. I want to dance with you. And she was like, oh, okay. She was from Memphis. Well, I go. She looked at me. I was like, girl, you better go dance with him. I'm going to dance with this E-man over here, too, so we can get out of this place. I looked at my brothers like, let us get out of here. What are we doing here? Club No Name. Club No Name. I'm going to call Congressman Jackson and remind him. Both of them. To say, can you believe where y'all took me? Twan Bustamante. Oh my gosh. We were all, Mike Frazier from Kennedy's office. We all went there that night. And Lisa and I were miserable. Oh, girl. Oh, you are kidding. Ask him about Club No Name.
I am not.
Ask him about it. In Memphis. I was like,
No,
we pulled up to this place. I was like, there are no paved roads around here. What are we doing here? And my brothers would do things like this to like to yank my chain. But please, I didn't stay too far away from my brother Jonathan because I knew he could take care of business. He could handle folks for me.
That's right.
Oh yeah. I was not worried because Jonathan would roll up on someone in a minute if they looked at me the wrong way. That's my brother. Yes, I'm speaking of the congressman. Oh, yes, he will. And my brother will get you. You mess with his sister. He is like, wait a minute. What? Who? What?
Right to the point.
What?
It's right to the point.
What?
No messing around.
No. He walked up on one guy. You got a problem? What? Yes, my friend. My sister, leave her alone. Step back. I was like, oh. Oh, he's swole. My brother didn't play. But all my brothers, Yusef was too much of a baby. He didn't go because he was too young. But we did have fun. We love Memphis. Well, now do we have the Holy Man? I can't say this in front of Mark Fancher. Ooh, Mark Fancher, you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
No, well, forget everything that you just heard about Club No Name and CK Hoffler. CK Hoffler wouldn't go near. Oh, Lorraine, yeah, your dad was my father. I mean, look, people wouldn't even come near me if my father was around. So they don't come around. I mean, they wouldn't come near. Oh my gosh. Oh, and I'm not gonna say my father's not that bad because fathers are protective of their daughters, and my brothers are too.
Absolutely.
One of my friends came over to see me during, huh? Yeah, I thought it's sweet.
Your moms are supposed to be protected.
Oh, look, I'm not mad. It's just that when a friend of mine came from Howard to see me during Christmas break, and my brothers all came downstairs and sat at the table to ask him how he knew me, including Yusuf, who was about 11. I was like, what is this? Why are you trying to frighten people? Oh, yeah. So you all want to go out tonight? Really? Oh, Mom, where's Santita going? Unbelievable. Stand by, everybody. Oh, boy. Well, let's talk about Tyree Nichols. God bless him. Whew. Boy, oh, boy.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Oh my gosh! Welcome back to Keep Up. You throw me off, Joyce. Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is Friday, January 27th, 2023. Joyce knows Club No Name, Joseph Kiles. Oh my gosh, I'm scared. Anyway, down in Memphis, Tennessee, everybody on Lamar Street, I didn't know what it was. I didn't think it was a street, Joyce. It was crazy. Anyway, call me at 773-763-9278. I'm going to take these last calls about the mayoral race. Vanya, who I saw yesterday, was so good to see you. And Pam, I didn't see you, Pam. I'm going to come to my callers, and I'm going to abbreviate my headline so that I can hear from you. Call me at 773-763-9278. They're going to release the video of the killing of Tyree Nichols down in Memphis, Tennessee. Indeed, everyone is saying that the nation is waiting with bated breath to see what happened. Traffic stop. Black man beaten to death by the police. Black man beaten to death by 5 black police officers. Does that surprise you? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. Maybe it's a little deeper than color, huh? Yeah, I think so, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278. We are joined by Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push Memphis, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, Chairman of the Board of Rainbow Push, former President of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the country, legal analyst on Court TV, Executive Director of the Push Excel program from Rainbow Push, and of course, civil rights lawyer and advisor to Reverend Jackson, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, and brilliant civil rights and civil liberties lawyer and author of The Negroes of Friends Village. Attorney Mark Fancher. We got a lot to talk about, but before I get to you, I've got to get through some of these headlines, everybody. So let me get right to it. In Chicago, snow showers we are expecting today with a high of 36 degrees. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 33 degrees. There will be snow. The NFL championship, who will be going? The games are this weekend. Who's going to the Super Bowl on February 12th? It comes down to the Eagles, the 49ers, Kansas City, and the Bengals. We will know by Monday, I hope. And then in the NBA, the Grizzlies will be playing the Timberwolves, the Hornets 111, the Bulls 96. And in the NHL, the Wild 3, the Flyers 2, Chicago 5, the Flames 1. The big headline today is Tyree Nichols. What happened to him? How will people react when they see his video? We're going to be talking about that. And before I get to these callers who want to weigh in on the mayoral race, let me tell you about this Perks for Work program from Team Hochberg. If you are selling your home or purchasing a new home and would like to save thousands of dollars, which means you're really making money, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Team Hochberg is offering everyone a new program. It's called Perks to Work, everybody. It's a benefit that will extend through the end of April. It can save you thousands of dollars on the next time you buy or sell your home. Here is how it works. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee up to 1%. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you to purchase a home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission as a closing cost credit. Team Hochberg will credit their loan origination fee, and their affiliated attorney fee will reduce their fee. A couple saved close to $9,000 using the Perks at Work program when they sold their home and purchased a new one. To learn how you can save thousands of dollars the next time you buy or sell a home, give Team Hochberg a call at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or visit them at 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843, 855-563-2843, or 56david.com. Team Hochberg, your equal housing lender. Before we talk about Tyree Nichols, what happened there? How is it that so many Black people died during a traffic stop? Let me go to these people who were talking about, who wanted to discuss the mayoral election and what we were talking about yesterday. Fanya, how you doing? It was great seeing you yesterday.
I'm doing so well. I'm so good to see you yesterday, too. I must admit, thank you. I'm so glad I won that ticket for the debate. I'm torn between Commissioner Johnson and Mayor Lightfoot, only because I live in Commissioner Johnson's district, and I know the good work that he's doing there, and he is really invested in youth programs and home ownership, and he has thorough knowledge of the city. I didn't know all the knowledge that he had of the city from Cabrini Green all the way down to Austin on the west side. And so it's like he understands the city, and that's what I like about him. He's trustworthy and reliable. And then I work with the West Side Heroin Opioid Task Force, which was convened with LaShawn Ford as an outreach worker. And I do see the impact that the City of Chicago's Department of Public Health is making in the field of addiction and recovery. And that, I think, is contributing to Lori Lightfoot and making sure that, well, I don't know who, but we work with Dr. Jasmine, who is the medical director for the behavioral health program, and they convene us. They meet with us. They talk with us about the things that are going on with addiction and recovery. And so I do see these two people working in the city of Chicago. The rest of them, you can count your dreams, but are you actually putting some stuff into place? The things I wonder about. And I did like Jamal Green's thing. So.
Oh no! I mean, look, did the forum help you yesterday?
The forum made me a little. It like I said, I'm torn because this is what I want: ranked choice voting.
Okay. Okay.
Like rank them like 1, 2, 3, and then we'll see. I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards Commissioner Johnson, but I know the work that Lori Lightfoot's doing. So
Okay.
it's hard because of that. So, and I know the work that Commissioner Johnson's doing. They do care a lot about the city.
And so do you. It was good seeing you, girlie. You looked fabulous yesterday. It was great seeing you. It was.
I wouldn't vote for Paul Dallas because I felt like his stuff was like from the 90s. His rehash. He talked about the things he did in New Orleans and in Philadelphia. I'm like, those are not great school districts. What are, you know? And then Willie Wilson, I do think he needs grief counseling.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, yeah.
Well, you know, that was painful, just knowing that his son has been murdered and that there's been no closure. So you understand, I think, you know, by revealing that, you understand him just a little bit better, you know. But your closing comment, Fania?
Yes. I mean, my husband and I raised his cousin for about 4 years, and he died to violence. He was murdered on Prairie, and we had to work through that, and we realized it's the young people, like Brandon Johnson talked about a program where we invest in our young people, get them working, so they're not, you know, I think a lot of stuff with our young people is boredom. It's the lure of guns and drugs and violence, and if we have them doing other things, then they wouldn't be lured into those into that world. And then the young man who murdered Michael, what's his name? Then he was murdered. So all our families are impacted by these deaths, the trauma, and we really need to engage our young people, as well as our teenage, our 20-year-old and 30-year-old Black males. We really need to have a works program for them.
Yeah, well, you know,
we will continue to see violence in the city of Chicago.
Well, you know, if you know, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If we wanted these people to succeed, we know what to do. They're playing games. We need to call them out on it because it's our money. I love you, Fania. But I need to. I got to move on to another caller. No.
Thank you,
No, you know I can talk to you all day, but you're not going to let other people in. Thank you, sweetie. Let me go to Pam. Pam, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Santita, and thank WCPT and you all for the forum. So what I was able to grasp from it in here, just like the previous caller, I was torn between Mayor Lightfoot and Commissioner Johnson. And that's because I think Mayor Lightfoot has good intentions, but she's made some serious missteps. But she's done more to really, I think, try to invest and really bring some equity. But my heart and who I trust to get the job done, and I'm really serious about education, is Commissioner Brandon Johnson. I like his platform. I like that he said not only do you need business owners, but you need to bring people who want to earn more W-2s. He talked about his platform for the young people. That's critical. Santita, we all know that public safety is an issue, so I don't think either one of these candidates are going to neglect public safety, but it's how you are going to handle it in a humane way. Are you going to be fair to the community, but also give resources to the officers? But call law enforcement out when they're in the wrong. And let me ask this, is racism not a problem in Chicago anymore? So I think they all need to speak to that, but I am going to support Commissioner Brandon because I think he has a full understanding of the complete structure of our educational system. And I think he will appoint a better superintendent. I think he will have a grasp on the academics because, Santita, if we really knew what was going on inside our schools, we would be devastated, and all of us would make a more concerted effort to get out there and do something about it. So, yes, crime is an issue, but how are you going to handle it? And then not only street crime, what about white-collar crime, political crime, corruption? Also, as I said, I want someone to protect City Hall, and that's his floor, from the influences of Trump
Trump and Trump-like individuals. I trust that Brandon will do that. Lastly, let me just say, it is important that the only poll that matters is the poll that the people take and the action that we take when we go out and vote. Mm-hmm. So that's what serious to me. Also, I looked at Brandon's his email sending information. Do we all know that Rahm Emanuel is putting together a political pact? And then you have Paul Vallas going around saying that Obama is supporting him because he used Obama in his ad. Now, I don't know if that's true.
Well, I mean, look, but I mean, it could very well be true because Rahm Emanuel and Obama are tied at the hip, and all these people are, and you know. Well, I mean, all of them, they're all tied at the hip. I mean, and so, you know, you have to be, you know, I think we have to be objective about it, not personalize it and just go, okay, well, the hip bone is connected to the, you know, and just say, oh, okay, because this is about power. And this is about a corporatist agenda that is being embraced and that is being foisted upon people. And I think we have to ask those questions and not be afraid of the answers. You know, I have a background in science, and I've got to tell you, you know, whatever you put in, don't be afraid of the output because it is what it is. 1 + 1 is going to give you 2, not 2.1. But very quickly, Pam, last point.
I just want to ask, and then look at all of the candidates in total. Some of them are not serious about being mayor, but it is about what they can get from this opportunity. Because we've seen some of the candidates run in the previous election.
Well,
so some of these candidates aren't serious about being mayor.
Well, I don't know the background. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if the only reason I don't know if I would say that is because running for office is very, very difficult. So I just, you know, I just assign the highest motives to everybody and just try to keep it moving from there. But, you know, but I hear you. I respect your thoughts. I do.
Okay. And I respect you as well. Thank you, Santita.
Sending you much love, Pam. You know what? I think that as we're talking, oh, my girl, can't wait to see you at one of these events one day. You know, everybody, you know, as we're talking about crime, you know, and that is really at the center of this particular of this mayoral campaign. Attorney Mark Fancher, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire. I've got Joseph Kiles, who's the executive director of Rainbow Push in Memphis, and everyone is looking at Memphis. All eyes are on Memphis today. Tyree Nichols, 29 years of age, skateboarder, free spirit, worked at FedEx, known and beloved as a really nice guy, wouldn't hurt a fly, got a tattoo of his mom on his arm, father of a 4-year-old child. Just beloved. And look, when the police come for us, Joseph, it's a frightening experience. But I just want to know what happened. What happened? Because from all accounts, this man would not have hurt a fly. How did he go from a police stop, a traffic stop, to getting killed by the police? Joseph Kiles, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, Santita, for allowing me to come on the show, and thank you for the work that you do for the nation. Tyree was 6'4", 148 pounds. A kind soul, never been arrested, never had any issues with the law. But what happened should not matter about his background, because if you have an infraction with the law and there must be some sort of arrest, you should be arrested and taken through the process. But here's what happened. The officers were in an unmarked car. They were not in uniform. And Tyree thought that he was being carjacked. That's why he ran and left his car.
Wait a minute, no, stop, Joseph. Say that one more time, because that is not being reported in the media. Have you heard that, Jeanette? I mean, have you heard that, Attorney Fancher? That he was being these guys were in unmarked cars. He thought he was being carjacked. I didn't know that. Joseph, say it one more time, please.
They were in an unmarked car. They were on a task force. And the task force is assigned to go into areas where there's high crime and capture drug trafficking or car thefts. And Memphis is notorious right now for a lot of car thefts.
But these officers, because they were fired so swiftly, is because of all of the policies that they broke. But the main key is that Tyree fled from these officers on foot because he didn't know who they were. And
so wait a minute. So he wasn't. Wait a minute. Let me just get this clear, because I want to paint the right picture for people. He wasn't fleeing from who he thought were police officers. He was fleeing from people he thought were trying to hurt him. Right?
That's correct.
Okay.
He was fleeing from. He did not know. He did not know. And the video will tell much more. I have not seen the video, so I don't want to speak out of turn. But I do know that from what has been the DA and from what police have said, that they were in an unmarked car. And so at that point, their job is to go into high crime areas and to put force, visible force. But the issue is much greater than that, because what we are now sitting on a powder keg in Memphis and other cities, other chocolate cities around the country, is this pervasive culture that exists within law enforcement, that you must be so abusive to the people in your community that they don't trust you.
We're talking with Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push in Memphis, Tennessee. Did you know, D. Ray, you said CNA is reporting that Reverend is coming and Reverend Sharpton are coming to Tyree Nichols' funeral next week. I would think that Joseph Kiles would know about that. I'm just finding, I know that you all are in touch with Tyree Nichols' team. Is that so? I've got about a minute before we go to break, Joseph.
That is correct. We had Reverend Jackson on Wednesday with the Commercial Appeal Editorial Board, and he was calm, and he really gave a message to the citizens about how we need to have nonviolent protests. But the most important thing is he had an opportunity to speak with Tyree's parents, his mother and his stepfather, and now we're trying to make sure that when this video comes out, that the citizens of Memphis will not react in barbarism, that they will protest non-violently, because the family has asked that out of respect for Tyree Nichols and his death, that we do not react in a way that is disrespectful to the memory of Tyree Nichols.
Oh, everybody, I want you to repeat before we go to break. Tyree Nichols, what he didn't think that he was being followed. These were not police officers in uniform in marked police cars. They were in what?
Let me correct. Let me say they were in an unmarked car. I don't know if they were in uniform or not, but They were in an unmarked car.
Okay.
And so when he was encountered, he ran and left his car because he didn't know who they were. And we had incidents in Memphis over the last couple of weeks where police or individuals, criminals were impersonating police. AR-15s, they had police insignia on at the Hilton right down from my office. The Hilton Hotel, individuals stepped out of the car, 5 individuals with fake police gear on, and carjacked and stole cars from visitors at the Hilton Hotel.
So much that we're finding out that we don't know. I cannot wait to hear Attorney Fancher and Reverend Wilson react to this, and of course taking our calls, because we're still calling for police reform. I heard Bishop Henry Williamson, I love him so much, on television this morning calling for the passage of the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. I mean, we need that. We need that right now. Look at what's happening. How do you get followed by police? You don't know they're police, and then they beat you to death. Who does that? Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Joseph, that is absolutely insane.
It is. 2 blocks from his home.
I'm speechless. I mean, what? Oh my gosh, that is. You know, and I was just saying, I couldn't even get the wording out. Agent provocateurs are the ones who generally disrupt these peaceful marches. You know, it's just we march peacefully. That is the history of the. I mean, that is how Dr. King shaped the modern civil rights movement. And when his march was disrupted in Memphis just before he was killed, it turns out these were agent provocateurs One was a Morehouse guy who had ties to the intelligence community. That is not what we do. Come on. What now? Who am I talking about? Oh my gosh. Oh.
Well, I think much of this goes to the profiling of young black men. There's this profiling that you see in major cities all across the country of young black men as criminals, as drug dealers, and therefore the police feel emboldened to do whatever they have to do to them, whatever they choose to do to them, because they have been profiled. And our young black boys are constantly being profiled in the media, and so much so that they must have a training video for police officers. When you see a black man under 40, you know you're looking at a drug dealer, a criminal, and therefore you must move aggressively to deal with him. And that's what Loretta Lynch, when she came to Chicago and evaluated the Chicago Police Department, Memphis Police, no different, LAPD, New York PD, all of them, the police feel like they're some Gestapo force that can do whatever they choose to do. They are judge and jury on the street.
Well,
That's what happened to Tyree.
Well, let me respond to Thomas. Thomas, TJ, you're saying, why should it matter that 5 cops were in an unmarked car? Because they were in an unmarked car, made it okay for 5 men to beat 1 man to death? Seriously, why would that make this a lesser of a crime? That's not what we're asserting, TJ. Not at all. What we're saying, we're trying to make the point that if you look at corporate media, one would get the impression that 5 police officers in police cars stopped him for a traffic stop. He thought he was being carjacked because they were in unmarked vehicles. It's not a lesser crime. This is what's so heinous. He didn't know. He didn't know that he didn't know. And he's running away from people who he thinks might kill him.
That's right.
Oh gosh! I mean, I'm disgusted. And well, excuse me. And they did. Do we still have callers on? Paul.
Yes.
Okay.
Linda Nonady on the line.
Okay. But I'm going to go to you. I'm going to go to you, Attorney Fancher, and then to you, Jeanette, and then I've got to bring some of these callers in. But I'm going to have you give us a synopsis once again, Joseph. This is insane. It's even worse than I thought. This is awful. Absolutely awful. It's just awful. So I guess no one has anything to say. This stuff will leave you speechless. I don't even know what this. I don't know what.
Well, I just think that the police are becoming more and more aggressive in these urban centers, and they have all of these Gestapo tactics to challenge young black people.
I stand by it. It's awful. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We're talking about Tyree Nichols. This video is going to be released sometime today, this evening. This tragedy, 29-year-old black man down in Memphis. Joseph Kiles, executive director of Rainbow Push in Memphis, is giving us a whole new perspective, Reverend Jeanette Wilson and Attorney Mark Fancher, on what happened down there. Before I come to you, Attorney Fancher, and you, Reverend Wilson, and the callers, Joseph Kiles, because you kind of dropped the bomb on us. Can you drop it one more time? Drop it one more time, because I was under a whole different impression with all the stories that I've read about this, about what happened here.
Right. The district attorney has said that they will release the film, the body cam footage, the sky cop footage, and witnesses, a combination of information. But it will show exactly what happened from the moment that Tyree was stopped, to the moment that he ran, to the moment that he was under arrest,
And as we've heard from Ben Crump in that video, that Tyree is beaten for 3 minutes straight. So how do we get there? And why is it the question needs to be answered? Why did Tyree run in the first place? He ran because he was stopped by an unmarked car, and he wasn't certain who these people were. And so, as Reverend Wilson has said, and others have said, there's a pervasive culture in law enforcement that sees brown and black men as immediately as a criminal, without investigating, without de-escalating, and without any conversation. And that's where we are now in a country and a culture.
Attorney Mark Fancher, what do you make of what you've heard about this case?
Well, I think Mr. Kyles is right on target in terms of the concern about culture. That really is a problem in law enforcement nationally. Race is certainly a factor, a big one. But before you even get to race, you have to deal with law enforcement culture. And it's a culture that's a military culture. There are political presumptions that are made that all cities are crawling with violent criminals, and that in order to respond to violent crime, you have to have a force that's made up of soldiers, people who are prepared to engage violently. And so when you look at how police officers are trained, they're trained to be soldiers. They're trained to learn to shoot. They're trained to grapple. They're trained to engage in all kinds of violent combat. They're given many high-powered weapons in some cities. And so it creates a military culture. These are not people who are trained and whose culture makes them appropriate to patrol streets in the United States. These are people who are trained to do things like patrol the streets of war-torn areas, in the Middle East or some other place. And it's not a good fit. Because if you look at the types of actual emergencies that most police departments are asked to respond to, they're not violent crimes. Police are called to deal with people who are dealing with drug overdoses. They're called to deal with people who are homeless. They're called to deal with people who are undergoing and experiencing mental health emergencies. They're called to respond to people who have tried to commit suicide. They're called to deal with squabbles between neighbors. And all of these kinds of emergencies and others, these kinds of crises, are not appropriate for soldiers to respond to. These people are not prepared, they're not credentialed, they're not able to effectively respond to these things. They're only prepared and trained to respond violently. And so it is the way that they conduct their business, it's the way that they engage with all citizens, no matter who they are or what they're doing. We don't know yet exactly what Tyree Nichols was doing at the time that he was approached by these officers. But it's a good chance that he by himself was not engaging in activity that merited or that required a response by 5 soldiers who were prepared to engage in violence right off the bat. And I said we've not even mentioned race yet, but we have to remember that policing in America has its historical roots in slave patrols during the slave era. These were forces of people who spent their time patrolling and monitoring the movements of enslaved Africans, checking their credentials, engaging in summary punishment of those who were not in places where they were supposed to be, trying to break up insurrections and rebellion. And the presumption continued as law enforcement solidified and became more recognizable in its modern form as stereotypes took hold of the culture then, where it was presumed that black people are inherently criminal for various historical reasons. So really the answer, and I think the one thing, if there's anything positive that comes from this, is it disabuses many people of the notion that the way to minimize or to lessen the police violence that's directed at black men in particular, black people in general, is to increase diversity within law enforcement. We see now that the lie has been put to that. It really does not matter the race of the police officers as long as there is a culture which they're thrown into and which by pressure that's applied to them, they're forced to adopt and internalize and act out on. So we see the problem, and really in order to break up that culture, we have to reimagine law enforcement and police and public safety. Instead of hiring soldiers, there really needs to be a recognition and an understanding that there are only a few of those kinds of people that you need. You do need people who are prepared to engage in violence or to respond to violence, carjackings, home invasions, murders, those kinds of things. You need those kinds of people. But the entire police force need not be made up of those kinds of people. You need people who are prepared to respond to actual emergencies and crises that cities experience. You need psychologists, you need social workers, you need mental health professionals, you need drug counselors. Those are the kinds of people who need to be employed by public safety agencies and organizations to respond effectively. And if you have that type of diversity, if you have career diversity, professional diversity within public safety agencies, this culture of violence, this culture of militarism that currently exists will be broken up just by virtue of changing the personnel.
Amen to that. I mean, do people on the ground, before I come to you, Reverend Wilson, and the callers, do people on the ground know the circumstances of this man's killing? Do they know that he was pursued by these officers in an unmarked car? Do they know that he felt that he was under threat because he didn't know who they were?
Correct, but they do know that it's an unmarked car because the Scorpion units, they don't drive marked vehicles. And we do know that from his parents and his stepfather and Attorney Ben Crump, that when he was arrested, he was detained, that there was a 3-minute beating, and he did not resist in that 3 minutes. We do know from the stepfather's account that Tyree kept saying that he could not breathe and he needed to sit up. And they rendered no aid. We do know that there were 2 out of the 5 officers who did not engage in the beating, but they did not stop it. They did not act to stop it. And so that's what we know.
What are the next steps, Joseph Kyle? I mean, when will the video be shown? I mean, what's the lag time on the video? Why are they not showing it? What's going on?
At 7 p.m. tonight, the district attorney has stated that by 7 p.m. tonight, that the video will be shown. I understand that Bishop Williamson and other clergy and members in Memphis there and the leaders are calling for calm and nonviolent action. And we anticipate, because we know that there may be National Guard staging in and around Memphis, that we need to make sure that we continue to pray and send our prayers to Memphis, and that cooler heads will prevail. But that's where we are tonight. We anticipate that the video will be shown at 7 p.m. tonight Central.
Well, yeah, they're doing a whole lot of warning. It must be awful. And I'm sure that it is. And they need, faith without works is dead, Reverend Wilson. Where's the Justice and Policing Act? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, because how am I supposed to react when someone how am I supposed to react to that? I don't know who the police officer is or is not. What is going on? What is this?
Well, I think this is something that has been happening around the nation with police officers and civilians. I do agree with Attorney Fincher that the training and recruitment of police officers has been is flawed, but it's also the culture of the police force has been that they are a military force designed to do whatever it takes to keep order and bring peace and order to communities. And they target certain communities. They don't police every community the way they did that particular neighborhood in Memphis. They have outlined battlegrounds, it appears, in cities across this nation where in these communities, in these neighborhoods, this is how you treat the residents. And they don't the police don't see themselves as part of the community. They are much like you send a military force, people that go to Afghanistan and other places, they're sent there. They don't live there. They don't know the people there. They don't relate to the people as humans. They're sent there to bring order, to do certain things, and then leave. That's not home for them. And I think the way policing has been working for the last several decades is it's an occupying force. It is not a group of citizens who are working to bring order and to protect members of their community. They don't see themselves as part of the community. And that's a big issue. And then there's this profiling of black and brown, young black and brown men predominantly. They are profiled in the police officers' minds as criminals, as drug dealers, as thieves, as robbers. They're not profiled as young men who may have arrived in a particular place, in the wrong place at the wrong time. They immediately decide that that particular task force, any young black man in that neighborhood would be profiled as a drug dealer, and therefore we have to do whatever we decide to do to that person, because he is the enemy. They create these enemy targets. That is what former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch did in going to cities across America looking at racial profile. We don't understand why our boys have to be told at the tender ages of 10 and 11 what it means when they go out in the street. I don't know any, and you don't either, Santita, black man, boy, that has not been stopped, told to spread eagle over police cars, and searched just for driving while black, walking while black. Your brothers were stopped. My husband, who is a lawyer, has been stopped, searched.
No, Jonathan, Congressman Jackson, he was put in the back of the police car while he was trying to open some stores. He had some mobile phone stores, and they put him in the back of the car, handcuffed, and they assumed he and his partner with their MBAs from Northwestern and all of that, you must be a criminal. And it was only after Jonathan said they were in the back of the car he said it was an interminable amount of time, because of course Attorney Fancher and Joseph Kiles, you would know that it would be, he said, I didn't know if I was going to see my wife, my kids, my parents, my siblings again. I just didn't know. And this, when they finally ran his plates, they said, why didn't you tell us you were Jesse Jackson's son? He said, because it should not matter. They said, well, we're going to let you go. He said, oh, no, I'm going to stay right here. You're going to charge me with something, which inspired in him. It sparked a new level of activism, because he said, are you serious right now? I mean, he knew this happened, but it's something happens when it happens to you. Let me go to Miss Linda. Linda, what's on your mind?
How you doing, Santita?
How you doing?
Form yesterday, but
I saw you.
Now, however, I would like to tie the form into this police brutality that has been prevalent throughout our communities for over 100 years. Now, initially, I was for Willie Wilson, but when I heard him say yesterday to take the handcuffs off the policeman, I immediately thought about the boy, Laquan McDonald. But then I'm old enough to remember Fillmore Police Station on the west side. And I know this entire city. And you're right, they do police differently in different communities. But I remember Fillmore Police Station. He had the Ku Klux Klan in there, checked of it. It was in the newspaper. And I knew 3 boys that got killed in there. And they had marks around their necks. I knew another guy. Well, he wasn't the guy. We were all children. He was running from the police. He was 14 years old. They shot him in the back. Another boy, they shot him in the forehead and said that he was running from the police. This was all at Fillmore. So when I hear this, take the handcuffs off the police, I think about Laquan McDonald, Wakita Boy. I'm thinking about Tyree Nichols right now, and George Zimmerman, and so many others. So, I mean, I'm not anti-police, I'm not pro-police, but I do want good police, 21st century policing, not that stuff that they used to do and what has going on in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I'm a mother. I feel sorry for this boy's mother and what she's going to have to go through when she sees this film. I've been fortunate enough, I've never lost a child. But again, it's maternal instinct, and it's going to be devastating for her. Now, these officers that killed this boy, I'm listening to your show, Santita. I'm a lady that you met yesterday with the red sweater, Linda.
No, I remember Miss Linda. I remember you with your hat on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, I am just so outdone that we could do this to ourselves. Now, I know you come from the school. You come from the school of Martin Luther King. However, I am from the school of Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus said that due to the fact that we haven't gotten the proper type of education, we are our own worst enemies. And I'm just appalled. And I'm going to sum it up by saying I really enjoyed your form, but I changed. Now, I was for Willie Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he said take the guns or handcuffs off police, I think about the KKK that was over at Fillmore. I'm swaying more toward Brandon Johnson, and I'm a retired educator myself. I also have a real estate license. So I'm kind of swaying toward that. I don't want that old type of policeman. I live on the south side now, but I am a west sider. And I remember seeing how the police would make these young boys in the cold pull off their coats, lay on their stomachs on the ground. I don't want that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I got to say.
Well, that's a whole lot to say, but just so that you know, my mother's father was a Garveyite, so I think many of us are a mix of a lot of things, and but Dr. King, nonviolence is not something that is inactive, Miss Linda, at all. It is quite radical to decide in a society that is so violent, Joseph, I'm going to use love. And I'm not, and Dr. King said, and I will not stop. And he was not stopped until he was physically stopped, but he is more alive today than ever before. Let me get Mama D in for about a minute or so, and I'm going to give the balance of the time to you, Joseph, because what you've been telling us is it's just devastating. Miss Mama D, I've got about a minute and a half for you. You go for it.
I have only greeting for you. The plainclothes police is a real problem. I remember when my husband he had gray hair, he's walking down the street, and the plainclothes police stopped him and went all inside of his pants, in his genitalia area. And I remember how hurt and humiliated he felt. And all he was doing was just walking down the street, and they jumped out of the car and molested him like that. But four things that stand out at the hearing yesterday. First of all, I think that the two groups should have been asked the same questions because they're both applying for the job of mayor. I thought that there was some bias for Lori Lightfoot and some bias against Dr. Wilson. I think that the reparations question should have come up because the $500 a month, no questions asked, came out of that reparations committee, and it was spearheaded by Dr. Wilson, and they marched on Lori Lightfoot when she gutted that whole reparations bill. Also, I think that there should have been more on the subject of how the impact of sanctuary settlers and sanctuary seekers on homelessness of Chicagoans, and putting their needs before the need of others. And that bias question, I'm sorry?
No. I was just trying to get your last point.
The last point was the impact of the homelessness on Chicagoans. And we'll talk about that. But when it came to the bias, it was Dr. Wilson was judged by his rabbit comment, and Paul Vallis was told to say something, the question about should Mayor Lightfoot be given credit for something that she had done. So I think that was bias for her, and Dr. Wilson's words today about that rabbit comment was one of the ones that they were that they asked him. And also, he was told to emphasize the second part of the question when it came to the tax question that was asked, and nobody else on the planet, on the panel, was told, you focus in on this part of the question.
Okay, all right. Criticism received. Absolutely. Love you so much, Mama D. The last 2 minutes or so belong to you, Joseph Kiles, Executive Director of Rainbow Push in Memphis. What's going to happen next? What should we expect? Are you hearing anything about this video? Are you hearing that it's as bad as it sounds?
Well, here's what we should expect. We have been talking with Reverend Jackson, Bishop Henry Williamson, Dr. Simagray. We're calling for an oversight committee to review all task force units. Something that I've talked to people in the community, leaders, business leaders, and senior law enforcement officers. There should have been, all of these officers were young. I think the one in terms of 2017, 2018, 2020, and 21. So they're young officers on a task force. They're amped up. They're driven out of the precinct to say, go make arrests. And they had no guidance. Had there been a senior officer on site, he would not have been the two, or he or she would not have been the two standing by and been charged with failure to intervene. So what we need now is a review of all of the task force units and how they're set up operationally, and the fact that how they're trained in order to make interdiction and stops. But what's most important, as we've been talking with the leadership, Bishop Henry Williamson, Reverend Jackson, Dr. Simagray, we're calling for the clergy now to reach out to the community. And at the viewing of this terrible body cam footage and sky cam footage, that we act responsibly and we be very disciplined in our approach, and that we do not result to riots and violence and tearing and burning up our own city. Because let's remember this, the police department has acted very quickly and swiftly. And at this point, we ought to allow the investigation and the process to work. These 5 officers have been charged, they've been arrested, and we don't know if they ever made bail, but some of them have attorneys. We don't need to push and force things if they're moving in the right direction. We feel very badly. Our hearts are heavy. I have young children, teenage children who drive on the streets of Memphis every day. And I'm concerned for them. And let's come up with the solutions, and let's not get caught up in the anger and the violence.
Amen to that. And I tell you what, the people who are violent, you need to call them out, because more than likely they're provocateurs. Because leadership has called for nonviolence, and by and large, we have followed our leaders into nonviolence. And the people who have sparked the violence have been paid by the police. They have been agent provocateurs, and we need to go on and say that. You need to call them out, and we need to find out who they are. The people who broke up Dr. King's March, everybody should know their names, not just James Earl Ray, who nobody believes killed him anyway. We need to stop playing that game and stop letting them play with us. That's what we need to do. Joseph Kiles, everybody, Executive Director. Yes. You got the last minute. Oh, Joseph, 30 seconds.
One second. Tyree's parents watched that video with their attorney, Ben Crump, and his mother could not view the entire 3 minutes. She had to leave out of the room. The stepfather stayed in the room. So in terms of what we know, 3 minutes of what Ben Crump says, Tyree's body was treated like a human pinata. And so that is going to be very devastating. But we're calling on all of the folks in the spiritual world and God who love God and believe God, that we're going to protect and send angels and cover Memphis as we go through this process.
Amen. And call out the people who do the violence, because we know who you are. I've been in the movement all my life. I know who you are. I know the people who try to make us become violent. I know who you are. We know who you are. And you're not part of the movement. You're part of something else, and you're sent to destroy them. And you need to be called out. Period. See you on Keep Up Alive on Sunday. We'll be talking about this 7 to 9, iHeartRadio. I love you, everybody. God bless you. And thank you, WCPT, for a great mayoral forum. Love you all. God bless you. Joseph, we are on Facebook Live. Is there anything else that you and Attorney Fancher and Attorney Reverend Wilson Esquire would like to say? Is there anything else you'd like to say, Brother Kyles? That's what Effie Rolfe is sending you much love. She is a legend, of course, in the world of gospel radio, church radio here in Chicago. And she's sending you much, much love. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
We're sending our prayers and thoughts to Tyree Nichols' mother and stepfather and his family and that 40-year-old son. And soon we need to get together and reach across the community to put together some resources to help his son and his educational goals as he goes through life. I'm thinking about the loss of a loving and caring father and what that will mean in that young man's life.
This boy, he's 4. How you take somebody's daddy from them? Are you kidding me? What?
4 years old.
I mean, come on. He is a boy. He's a child. And you got to explain to him why he's not going to see his daddy upright again. And in time, he's going to come to a deeper and deeper understanding, and it will be devastating. And it is about culture, everybody. It is about culture. These are Black men who did this. Are you serious? Of course, it's a culture. It's a culture. This is horrible. And I did not know that they were in a non-marked. I didn't know they were in a non-marked car. I didn't know that. I did not know that. In everything that I've read, I've not seen that.
Right. Unmarked cars.
I mean, I've got nephews. You kidding me? And I've got nieces, because Black women increasingly are not spared by this, Reverend Wilson. Sandra Bland, hello? Breonna Taylor, hello? You kidding me? This is horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And they keep calling for calm, Joseph. I am clear. Because it must be awful to see. But again, I say that the people who will invoke the violence, they're not coming from the movement. And you need to find out who they are and who's paying them. Stop it. Call them out. Call them out. Because that is not what we do. And Fania said, Tyree must have been so scared. I know he was scared to death and calling for his mama. I can't breathe. Can mama help me? The thought of it is just, it makes me crazy. He didn't know who they were. He thought he was being carjacked. That's happened. Do you know that happened 2 doors up from my parents? Just a couple of months ago? Oh, yeah. One of their neighbors was coming out of her driveway, and these guys walked up to her in her driveway and made her get out the car in that lovely little neighborhood. Things are buck wild out here.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I don't care where you live. Nobody's immune. The most affluent neighborhoods, nobody's immune to this. No, it's just out here.
No one is immune. Absolutely not.
No one.
Absolutely not.
No one. Well, you know what? Are you going to be able to join us on Sunday? Because I'm sure you have to go to churches.
Yeah, I'm in Orlando at
okay.
the Makers Conference. So I get back to Memphis I'm on a flight Sunday.
Oh, okay.
I get back to Memphis on Sunday. And then Tyree's funeral is on Wednesday. So your dad said he may be coming in. So we're going to try to make sure. But if I'm available, I certainly can join you.
Well, let us know.
Representative G.A. Hardaway is supposed to come on. He's already confirmed. So Representative G.A. Hardaway is on our Memphis Advisory Board for PUSH. So he can do a great job.
Well, I believe that. But if we can get you, that would be fantastic. Okay.
Okay.
You know, since you
Thank
are.
you so much.
No, honey, thank you for being with us today. And thank you for letting, because we're in the middle of our mayoral race, crime, the police, all those things are issues here. And I needed to let these callers in. And I just want to thank you so much for everything.
Well, keep up the great work.
Oh,
Wilson, talk to you soon.
You are the man. Reverend Wilson and Attorney Fancher. Whew, it's a lot. It's a lot, everybody. God bless you. I love you. Thank you, Paul, for a great show. Everybody, love you, love you, love you, love you. See you soon on Sunday on Keep Up Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson on iHeartRadio. You don't want to miss it. And of course, we'll be streaming here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and on Santita Jackson and Friends, and of course on Reverend Jesse Jackson's page. I love you, everybody.